Welcome to Thrive, the podcast that's all about helping you track, build, adapt, and thrive in your fitness journey. We're breaking down the strategies, habits, and tools you need to crush your goals and build your best body. Whether you're just starting out or looking to level up, this is your blueprint for success. So let's get to work and start to thrive. Here's your host, Thrive creator and gym owner, Thomas Burns.
Hey guys, this is Thomas Burns with Thrive. I'm super excited to bring podcast number 3 to you guys today. So this podcast is going to be really great. I'm going to break down Thrive with you guys today a little bit more and how that process works. Then also have a great guest with us today that I'm going to introduce, let her kind of explain her Thrive process and how she's kind of gone through the Ramp program and kind of help you guys kind of explain and kind of also help kind of maybe push you guys a little bit. If you're kind of having a hard time getting started, maybe she can kind of give you the motivation, maybe a little bit of guidance to kind of help you guys out a little bit. So yes, let's start with Thrive. What is Thrive? Thrive is a process, right? So Thrive stands for transformation, habit, and then resistance training, invest, visualize results, and then of course, empower. So all these different elements are really important. Like I said, it's a process. You may start out, with invest, right? You're investing your time. It may be something of, okay, hey, I had this big light bulb moment. Maybe I was at the doctor's office, and you got diagnosed with maybe type 2 diabetes. That was your light bulb moment, and then now you're like, okay, I have to get a gym membership. I have to make a change in my life. But everybody says, this is maybe something that's going to happen immediately. Life is a marathon, not a sprint. So we have to make sure when we're going through this journey that we're following the Thrive process to see the best results. So we want to make sure that we hit that start button. So if you're having a hard time, and you're working towards that dream body, think about the Thrive process and where you're at and start checking those, boxes. When you first get started, yes, you may stumble, you may fall, but get back up on those feet again. And let's make sure we're moving through that process a little bit more to where we are, building a habit. We are investing more time. We're looking at how are we going to evolve. We're visualizing our dream body. If you want to be, Superman, or if you just want to look good, feel good, maybe run around with your kids in their front yard to where we're, having a lifestyle, or if you have other bigger goals that you want to do, all of these things are great when it comes to having, great opportunities, but also great goals for people. But it's all about building that habit and making sure you're following, a great process. And that's where Thrive is really going to help you out, because it brings great resources such as like Staiku and Ramp that we have here at Workout Anytime at Franklin and Columbia, to where we can really kind of help push you guys in the right process and give you the right support that you guys are going to need. So with the support, we want to make sure, you are hitting that start button, but also staying consistent. So, and when it comes to staying consistent, a lot of people have a hard time with that. But that's where the Ramp program really helps you stay consistent. And we also have personal training as well too. But the Ramp program is great because, you have it on your phone, you have a piece of paper of it, whatever it is, but you're in here 3 days a week. It has, the sets, the weights, the reps, everything you need. So let's say you've never worked out before, right? This is then going to tell you exactly what you need, exactly how to do it. So then you don't have the problem of, oh, hey, what am I going to do? How am I going to get there? What is then, that process? So, a great example of somewhere where I've seen somebody start, an example of a Thrive process, but then, stumble is, you have people, come in and do Staiku scans. So I did a Staiku scan on a guy. He came in and he's been working out 5 days a week, for about 8 weeks. So he comes in and he's working out and all this stuff, and he's telling me all about everything. He's super excited to see his results. And when we look at his results, his body fat, is going up a little bit. His muscle mass is going down, but he says he feels stronger. And I'm like, okay, like that's great and all and everything. But what is going on outside the gym, because I can look at your check-in history, and see that you're staying consistent. But if you're not building a habit of eating the right things and doing the right things outside of here, the results are tough. So that's where we need to make sure we're building the habit to where then we can evolve to kind of push ourselves in the right direction. And that's where, we then start to see a big change in our body so that we can then evolve, push ourselves in the right direction, and really see big changes there. So that's where I brought in, one of my awesome members here today. Her name is Venus. She's really going to kind of explain, her Thrive process, how she got into the Ramp program, and what, she's kind of doing. And maybe she can help kind of, give you a little bit of guidance and maybe that little push to where then you can hit that start button, to where then you're like, okay, hey, I had this light bulb moment, but I'm having a hard time, putting my finger out to hit that start button. Maybe she's, what you need. So let's give this testimonial here. So Miss Venus, welcome. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so go ahead and just tell me a little bit about yourself.
I am very dedicated to getting this workout, and I'm very dedicated to doing it for myself. I didn't feel like I was being seen, and I didn't like the way I looked, so I had to change it.
Right.
So I came in and I talked to y'all, and y'all was so nice, and y'all guided me and leaded me to a program that would help me, because I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
So when I got on the Ramp program, it helped me to understand that this is what I do on this day, and this is how many times I'm supposed to do it. And sometimes I would go over that amount just to push myself to see how far I could go. And my results, in my 6 weeks, I believe, I lost 10 pounds in 2 weeks.
Wow. That's incredible.
So I was like, wow, this is really working.
Yeah.
So you can get the results that you are looking for. You just got to put in the work, and your mindset has to be there. Because you can come in the gym all day, but if you don't eat right, if you don't drink water, if you don't exercise, come in and actually do it and focus on it, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
My numbers had went down.
Yeah.
But it went back up at the same time.
Yeah.
Because I slipped up on what I was eating.
Right.
And I couldn't figure out what it was.
Right.
But my coach, he was like, maybe you're carrying weight in your bones, in your blood. Sometimes, women, we have cycles, and it helps. It weighs us down. So that was a big part. And then that second week that I came back, I was in my right numbers.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What was your kind of light bulb moment where it's like, hey, I need to get started,
My light bulb moment was when I was in pain all the time. I just was stiff, and my doctor was like, you need to lose weight. You're diabetic. You gotta do this for yourself. And I realized, I was like, okay, I can't do this alone. So I have to get in here and try.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. A lot of people kind of, hit, light bulb moments like that, and it's really important, just like yourself, that you made that step. A lot of people have, a hard time making that step. They drive by the gym and say, oh, tomorrow, maybe the next time. And I hear that all the time. They're like, oh, I finally walked in. I'm finally making the changes. So for you to, make those changes, it's, really cool. Like I did, the other day I was, working out, then I started talking to you, and you're like, I made all these changes, and it really hit me really deep. I was like, oh my gosh. So when I have members like you that really support the program, and you see the progress, with Thrive and within the Ramp program, and it's like, wow, you really kind of, help kind of motivate others. But at the same time, it's like, you're one of these people that kind of stand above the rest, and I want, people to, follow you in suit. Yes. So that's why it's really great to have you on today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Y'all guys are amazing
at
what y'all do. Y'all supportive. Y'all always ask us for anything that we can do. And I just feel like there's nowhere else to be but here.
Yeah.
I never had a support in a gym like this before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's what honestly Workout Anytime Franklin and Columbia is all about. Is this, we're here to bring the Thrive, process program to you guys. Make sure we have, the right, assets in place with the STICU and the Ramp program to make sure you guys are, following your goals and, really kind of, changing your life. So, one last question. If you could give any advice to, anybody else that's maybe having a hard time, making that step, what would that be?
Try. Just be like, okay, if I could just try to do this and see how it works, I will do it. And then the second thing I would say, your mindset has to be in the right place before you start. Because if you start something and your mind is not there,
Right.
you're not going to do it.
Right.
So your mindset has to be strong enough to be like, okay, nobody can't make this decision for me but me. So let me do something for me.
Right.
And I'm a people pleaser, and I used to do stuff for everybody else, and I neglected myself.
Absolutely.
So when you neglect yourself, you got to love on yourself.
Right.
You got to love yourself enough to know that you can do it. Look in the mirror. Get you a mirror. I never had a mirror in my life in my room.
Right.
I got a mirror about 2 years ago in my room, and I was like, whew, I look kind of thicker now, So I was like,
Yeah.
I said, let me try.
Uh-huh.
Let me try and see what I can do.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
I am down 2 pant sizes,
Wow.
and I'm getting so close to my goal.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to be here to do this program because it really helps. Please don't be scared to go out and get the help. This place is amazing. You have to come here and just try. They will give you good advice. They will help you. If you fail, they will help you pick yourself back up and get another program that will fit your needs.
Right.
I would say that. That's the most important thing. Love yourself enough to try.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's the biggest thing is like you said, set up a mirror, something like that. Or I even tell some people, when I do success sessions with the STICU, pick out a piece of clothing, that you want to fit into that's 2 sizes too small and be like, hey, let's fit into this.
Yes.
And, maybe it's a dress. You pull it up, it's getting a little closer, and then before you know it, you're like, it's on.
Exactly.
Something to kind of motivate you a little bit more and more all the time.
Yes.
So, awesome. It was great having you on today.
It was great being
Yeah,
here.
absolutely.
Thank you.
So, guys, this is Thrive. This is podcast number 3. Number 4, we are filming next week. So, look forward to podcast number 4. Next week, we are talking about invest. So, we are going to talk about investing your time, investing your life towards, the different things that you can do to make the progress you need through our Thrive process. So come to Workout Anytime, Franklin and Columbia. Start your Thrive process today. We will see you next week.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Thrive. Remember, fitness isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Track your data, build your habits, and keep evolving. If you found value in today's episode, share it with a friend who's ready to thrive. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a step on this journey. Until next time, keep tracking, keep building, and just thrive.